Okay, I'm going to go over some simple options for your Fuji X-T1 or X-T10. I did make a video a few days ago talking about the fact that discovering that I could use auto aperture mode on the Fuji X-T1 or X-T10. I hadn't tried that before because Fuji sponsored well-known and established shooters said that it would not work. And it would not work with Nikon Speedlight cables. Well, they were flat out wrong, but I made the mistake of taking their word on that, and that's something I normally never do, but that mistake is on me. Now, I did see mention of my video on a Fuji forum, and it was said that no one would want to use automatic mode on their camera, that you should go for the Fuji Speedlight, which is exactly a Sunpack Speedlight, by the way, or another Canon Speedlight and a Canon TTL cable. And I'm certainly not against TTL flash photography, and I've got dozens and dozens of speedlights and many countless thousands of dollars in super expensive studio strobes. But let me tell you something right now, okay? If you cannot get by in manual mode with your speedlight, then you have some serious issues. I mean, it's like owning an Nikon D4S and only using it in puss mode, or program mode, excuse me. Auto aperture mode, now there is no aperture communicated via the TTL cable or non-TTL cable, like this is the SC29 flash cable for Nikon Speedlights, but you certainly do not need this expensive cable. I'm only using it because I happen to have quite a few of them. You can get by, certainly so, from your triggering using the very cheap cable exactly like this. It's much older. It's $15. It's the SC17 Speedlight cable for older Nikon Speedlights. And of course you can use much cheaper Nikon Speedlights than the SB910 or SB800 here. You use old SB27s and 22s and 28s would be my favorite, as I mentioned in the other video, because it's a very powerful little speedlight and it's a lot smaller than the 900s or 910s like this or the SB800s. Of course, the SB800 is the most beloved speedlight by professionals because it's very simple and extremely powerful and is the true workhorse, unlike the overcomplicated SB910. Now, as is the case, now the light that's reflected off the subject is sensed right here, and it turns the flash off. Now you can dial in exposure compensation, which is really easy in the SB900 or 910 versus the SB800, where you actually have to change the relative aperture. Say I have f5.6 on my Fuji X-T1, instead of actually, unlike my SB910 here, where I can actually go into the exposure comp and dial in some additional stop of light for use in auto mode. What I have to do is change the aperture or the ISO on my speedlight here. So if I have 5.6 here and I want to increase the power in automatic mode, then I would just dial up my aperture and get the same relative effect by increasing the amount of light. And of course it's sensed right here on the SB800, same as it's sensed here on the SB910 or 900 or SB27 or SB22, SB28, so on and so forth. Now, like I said, if you got a Nikon Speedlight, or you even have a cheap young new Speedlight or any other crummy Speedlights that you're able to use in auto mode that are sensed right here for cutoff, these are wonderful. Now most people have never done this because, well, I have to be honest with you. Auto aperture mode is exquisite. It works 95% as good as TTL speedlight photography. That's not up for argument, and that's not up for debate. Now, one of the things that hardcore Fuji shooters, and especially those that are being paid by Fuji, they are corporately sponsored by Fuji, they are outright chirping about the lack of a TTL and speedlight ecosystem for Fuji. Well, even though I'm new to the Fuji system, I am sure as hell not new to speedlights and strobes and whatnot. Let me tell you a fact here. You can go out and buy the most expensive broncolor studio strobe, or and I have some Einsteins over here to the right, you know, $500 a pop. Those are all manual. If you crank it out with manual, then you have issues. If you can't use automatic mode, which is 95% as good as TTL flash photography, you've got some serious issues. For all of you out there that own Fuji, and you're chirping about the lack of TTL flash photography, unless you want to buy the, well, it's rather cheap. Fuji has made a deal with Metz, and they recently came out, Metz did, and of course it's kind of expensive. Metz used to be really, really good, and I had a lot of them back in the day, but their quality went years ago. And then the Fuji, was it EF52, which is a Sunpack flash. All they did is stick Fuji's name on it, and those are TTL speedlights that you could use. But let me tell you right now, shooting in total darkness, all sorts of oddball situations of illumination, if most people don't shoot in this mode, they throw their speed light on, they'll stick it in manual for like rim lighting, and most people don't even do that. Most people are afraid of speed light photography in general, but when they are using it, you know, they're sticking it on a cable, or go into mode here. They're in a TTL mode through the lens metering, and it's no different than having a super expensive camera that you're only using in program mode, and that is really cowardly. It is a very lazy and a cowardly lion use of a very sophisticated flash, and it doesn't have to be this sophisticated one. Even the old 15-year-old SP27s and 25s, and I mean, those are sophisticated. But you should not be afraid of using your Nikon Speedlight, if you've already got some, with your Fuji in auto mode, because it is damn good. Let me tell you right now. If you think, well, TTL isn't everything, okay? $1,000 studio strobes, don't use those. Are used in manual mode, okay? Don't need it. Now let me tell you also what does work here. I show you some super cheap options and super expensive options. Now right now I have a pair of pocket lizards. Pocket wizards is what they're called. They affectionately call them pocket lizards. Right now on the Fuji X-T1, and one right now with the PC sync cable on an SB800. So I've got a pair of these and $120 a piece. You're looking at basically $250. Yes, you can use cheaper triggers, but I like the really, really good, reliable ones. So that's expensive. So you got the camera, you got $240 in wireless triggers. Of course, it comes with the PC sync cable, and then you got an SB800. You could use certainly a much, much, much cheaper flash. But the triggers are expensive. So you want to go the really, really, really cheap route? Spend $60-70 on an old SB28. The SB28 is really the favorite that you should get, because it's a lot more compact and just as powerful, nearly so anyway, as the SB800. And it's actually the best speed light that I recommend for the Fuji system, because it'll fit in your pocket, and it's really, really good. The SB28 is the one that I recommend, or the SB28X, 28DX, excuse me, both basically the same speed light. So then you've got $70 total investment. You got your Fuji X-T10 or X-T1, then $70 in an SB28. You do not need the pocket lizards here, because that's an additional $240. You need a pair of them, of course. So $70 plus the SC17 flash cable. This is a super expensive SC29. This will work as well, but you obviously don't need that, because this is TTL and infrared sensor, and you don't need that for shooting in aperture mode. But I just happen to have quite a few of these, but I also do have some SC17 cables. They're $15. So your total investment that you're going to have in a wired, right now, of course, I like this because I'm able to use this in aperture mode with the pocket lizards here. Have my SB800 in auto mode. Excuse me, I said aperture mode, but I meant to say auto mode. Wirelessly with my pocket lizards here. But what you're going to have is a total of $85 invested using an SC17 cable, which would be $15, plus $70 for an SB28 or SB27, whatever the hell you have laying around. But if you're going to buy one, get the SB28. And then you will be able to use your Fuji X-T10, X-T1, or your other rangefinder Fuji in auto mode. Okay? And I can assure you that you can personally come over and kick me right in the ass if you're not pleased with the metering results from auto mode. Okay? 95% as good as TTL flash photography. You can compensate for it on the SP28, SP800, SP900, so on and so on and so forth. All you have to do is dial your compensation in, and if you don't have compensation like this, you compensate another way by changing the actual aperture on the Speedlight, because there's no communication on aperture between your Fuji camera and your Speedlight, but you're actually changing the amount of exposure. The flash that goes out and is sent back here, it tells the flash when to turn off because you're using it in auto mode, but it's not auto aperture, and it's not AA, it's only auto mode. You're able to compensate it for it by distance or ISO. You could change your ISO right now with ISO 400. So if I want to change it a bit, I can actually go into my setup menu and change it to ISO 200. And you know, I could actually change my compensation that way, or I can change my compensation by changing the aperture on my SP 900, 910, 800, 28, whatever. So it is easily to adjust it exactly the way you want, and you'll be very, 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 very happy with the results. And it's shocking to me that the Fuji, and I've got no slant against them, that they didn't mention this, but they've all bemoaned the lack of TTL flash ecosystem for the Fuji. Well, I gotta tell you what, I can use any of these flashes, either wired or wireless, in manual mode where I have the most control. But for street photography or whatever, using these pocket wizards, which I'd rather do because there's no wires to get tangled up and everything. But of course, if you do that, then you're going to have to invest in some wireless triggers, and those are more expensive even if you get the really, really cheap ones. But you know, your maximum investment is 85 bucks. Good Speedlight, 70 bucks. And the SC17 cable, the older one of this, which is all you need, another $15. So 70 bucks. Plus 15 bucks, and you'll be very, very, very happy with the results. I 100% promise you. So anybody out there, and I saw someone talking about this recently on a Fuji forum, saying, oh, you know, it's all about TTL flash. No, it is not. That's like someone telling you that if you got an advanced SLR camera, be it wireless or DSLR, that you, unless your camera can shoot in program mode, of course they can all shoot in program mode, then, you know, it's no good. And that's ridiculous, because most professionals are shooting in aperture priority or shutter priority or manual. You do not need that, okay? People have been getting by with decades now by using non-TTL automatic mode on their Speedlights for communication for flash cutoff, and it works perfectly well with your Fuji X-T1, X-T10, and your rangefinder Fujis. So there's the lowdown on that, and there is really very, very, very little information on this, so that is why I heard some people chirping about it here and there and everywhere, and there's really a lack of information on YouTube and the web on this. So I wanted to tell you that you do have awesome options for your Fuji SLR camera, both X-T1, X-T10, and your rangefinder Fujis. And it works really, really well. I promise you. I swear to God. Okay, I promise. Thank you for watching very much. Yeah, go out and enjoy your Fuji. And greetings to all the Fuji fanboys. And go have fun like I have, okay? It'll work great with these Speedlights or any other of the older, cheaper ones. But it has to be, you can use it manual mode, but it has to be one that's able to shoot in automatic mode that has a sensor on the front. Works great, okay? Bye.